Hello and Happy New Year. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, and this is probably going up either on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day 2025. I wanted to go through and do just an overview and recap of the year 2024 for Kingdom Death, as well as give my predictions for what's to come in 2025 and beyond. I will preface that all my predictions are my own opinions. I provide as much evidence and proof as I can to back up my theories, but you know, please just remember these are not official statements from Kingdom Death, and don't get mad at me if you don't like what I have to say about it. This is just my theory. So, to start off with, let's talk about communication for the year. I thought that they did a great job communicating this year, especially compared to previous years like 2018 and 2019. They were able to put out a monthly update and a sale all 12 months of the year, which might be a first for them. In this slide here, I'm highlighting just sort of all the custom artwork that they did for 9 of the 12 months. By the way, I said slides. Yes, I am using a PowerPoint for this presentation. It was way easier for me to put together a PowerPoint than to try to do this all in video editing. So, that's just me. For 2025, we should assume that there are going to be 12 updates every month as well. And the general rule of thumb is that they put out the update the last working day of the month. So by that, we should expect in January, it's going to be Friday, January 31st, followed by Friday, February 28th, Monday, March 31st, Wednesday, April 30th. In May, it's going to be on Friday, May 30th, because the 31st falls on a weekend. Then June 30th, a Monday. July gets a little weird because they will be going to Gen Con the following week. So I'm predicting that they're going to post it the Friday before Gen Con on July 25th. The following month, they'll probably post on Friday, August 29th because the 31st falls on a weekend. Although I have noticed in the past that the August post Gen Con update and sale sometimes goes up a little earlier, so that one maybe I'm off on. In September, it'll be Tuesday, September 30th, October 31st on a Friday, and then November 28th at midnight for Black Friday. It might go up technically a little earlier on Thursday, very late Thursday, November 27th on Thanksgiving. And then in December, the Christmas update on Thursday, December 25th. I could be off by a couple days on each of these. Sometimes they delay it a couple days. And, like I said, like they've even done it a couple days earlier in certain cases. We've also seen over the years this pattern of doing a grand overview for Black Friday. So in 2020, they started this trend off with Gambler's Chest. They didn't do one in 2021. Then in 2022, we had the Dark Herald update for Inverted Mountain, which wasn't technically a grand overview, but they went into a lot more depth about the Inverted Mountain expansion and campaign than they did for the previous Dark Heralds. 2023, we got the grand overview of Campaigns of Death, and then 2024, we kind of got a spotlight on Silver City. So my prediction going for into 2025 is Abyssal Woods, because when you look at kind of what's left, big box expansions that they could kind of do a deeper dive into, there's only, by my count, two left. And if you kind of go in the order they expect to release them, my guess is 2025 will be Abyssal Woods and 2026 will be Ivory Dragon. Beyond Kickstarter updates near the end of the year, they started to also use other social media platforms again, like Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, they've mainly just been kind of reposting some stuff that they posted on other platforms. But in the case of Facebook, I have seen like direct engagement by the Kingdom Death account, which may or may not be Adam. I don't know. But based off the writing style, I kind of think it might be Adam. And they've even teased exclusive stuff that they haven't teased anywhere else. So buried in the comments of that thread, Adam posted this teaser image from, I'm guessing, the Pariah expansion that I don't think has been shared anywhere else. So I thought I'd share it here too in case you didn't see it. So this is pretty cool artwork. Adam's also been a little more active on the Discord. On Black Friday, he was hanging out all night there and was just kind of answering some questions and just chatting about anime and other stuff. And he even got super excited and shared something that he wasn't supposed to share, which, he has taken down since. He only teased it, but it's my understanding it was some animation of the comic from the back of the core rule book. And then, he even posted later this cute little thank you graphic, which he also put on Facebook as well. So let's talk about releases for 2024. We started off the year early in February with the release of the Black Knight expansion. This was released about 6 months after Gambler's Chest was fulfilled, so it kind of felt like breakneck speed they were getting these things out. And while they were fulfilling Black Knight, Frog Dog was in production and getting ready to ship out. And we got Frog Dog as well as the 3D Showdown board, t-shirts, Roll Survivors minis, and the classic Death Dice in late May and June. So we were seeing things kind of coming to us at a much faster pace than we were used to. However, they did change the timeline and start to group things more because they got some feedback and complaints about shipping costs and sending things out in small batches. And we're going to go over that timeline in a little bit. But before that, I did want to also highlight some white box content that with gameplay content that came out that was of note. I'm not going to, this isn't an exhaustive list, but a couple of things that were highlights for me for the year included the Millennium Butcher vignette of Death, which came out in February. This was, another vignette fight, but I felt was, a lot more like involved than the Giga Lion one, and you had these really interesting gear grids, including stuff that we've never actually seen in game before, and the Millennium Butcher vignette and AI cards and stuff really changed the Butcher fight up a lot. In Gen Con, they released a number of white boxes. They had Survivors of Death, which is sort of this grab bag of systems from Gambler's Chest, including the new knowledge, a new pattern card, a new seed pattern, and a strain fighting art. And so this is kind of cool that rather than Echoes of Death, which is just strain fighting arts, they're kind of doing a little bit of everything. There was also the release of Lantern Armor Aya, which included patterns for new weapons and different variants of Lantern armor that you could kind of work towards in a campaign. So this is a very cool legendary character. And they also released the legendary character Glow, who kind of grows over time with experience and gains new unique gear that kind of all combos together. Black Friday, they released the 15th anniversary Survivors, which comes with a slew of new gear, which is really cool. And it's all kind of based off of like landing perfect hits. So this is also a very cool white box that came out. Going into 2025, we've already been told that by Adam in his Bra Mithra interview at Gen Con that they are planning on releasing a Wanderer in February, female preacher Wanderer. And they've actually teased the crest artwork for her back in 2020 as part of the Gambler's Chest Grand Overview. This is her. And I know this because this is the pinup of the preacher. And you'll notice that they have the same weapon. So that was my little deduction there. And then in the Black Friday update, of course, they teased the hard plastic of the Nucleope vignette. And if I had to guess, I'd say this is probably coming out at Gen Con, but given that they released Millennium Butcher just on a random month, or maybe leap years are Millenniums, I don't know. That's just my best guess, but it could come out whenever, I suppose. All right, so remember I said I was going to talk about the timeline. Let's talk about that timeline. And that's why I wanted to kind of get this video out before February for sure, before they officially update the timeline so I can get my predictions in. I think this graphic's a little telling. They put this graphic initially in the Black Friday 2023 update. And as you notice from the left going to the right, you have Black Knight, Frog Dog, Titan Bee, and Screaming God. And I think this was what they initially planned to release the order in, because we did get Black Knight first, followed by Frog Dog. They had said that Titan Bee was pretty much done or ready to go. And they've also said similar things about Screaming God in the past. So this is my guess, was this is what they were planning to release initially. However, my guess is the reason Titan B got pushed out further is because there is synergy between the Titan B and the Honeycomb Weaver, and they wanted to release both together. Plus, they're kind of selling it as a combo package, so splitting it up into different shipping waves might complicate things. So that's probably why that got pushed out further. And then they decided to bring other expansions up to replace the Titan B, and then they bundled it with the Screaming God and some other things. So first, this wasn't an official wave. I'm calling this Wave Zero. They told us that we were going to get the Frog Dog expansion, Ultimate Showdown board, Classic Death Dice, Roll Survivors, and T-shirts in April of 2024. However, it was a little delayed. It came out in late May. That's when I got mine, but I think most people got theirs in June. From what I can tell, the delay was actually due to the t-shirts. They had to screen print or have someone screen print, hundreds, if not thousands, of different t-shirts, different sizes, and then they had to organize them and send them to different warehouses. And I think it was a thing. So we probably won't see that again for future waves, having to, ship out clothing. But it was, it did add a delay, and I think that's just a thing, a common theme we're going to see with fulfillment waves is something comes up. So the next wave that's due to us is Remastered Wave 1, and this includes Pariah, Red Witch, Screaming God, False Messengers, Wanderers, and was initially estimated to come out in Q4 of 2024. That did not happen, as we know, because Q4 2024 ends today. So we haven't gotten an official update for when it's coming out yet, but my prediction is Q2 of 2025. And then I'm also throwing the Gatherism philosophy in there because he's said as much that it's in production and is going to get shipped out as soon as possible. So in the past, Adam has said from pre-production to fulfillment, projects are averaging at least 6 months. Once it's passed along to the factory to print, we'll be working on other projects. And that's largely true. It takes them about 6 months from pre-production to get first orders fulfilled. And I thought what we would do is we would actually go through the dates for Black Knight and Frog Dog and then use those to try to come up with our best guess for when we should expect Wave 1. In June of 2023, we were told that Black Knight was 99% done. We never got an official update. Actually, I think that was July. We were told that. We never got an official update that it went into pre-production, so I'm just going to guess that it was July, August of 2023. Then in September, or technically very early October, we were told that Black Knight expansion is now in production. And then it took about 2 months for production to end. And it was ready to be shipped in November. They did have a couple hiccups with the color of the back of the cards that slowed things down a little bit. And then people got their first fulfillments in mid-February. It's about, 2 months later, give or take, maybe a little longer than that. For Frog Dog, we were told that it was in pre-production in October of 2023. It was in production in November of 2023, was done in production in January of 2024. And like I said, there were some delays because of t-shirts and stuff. And 4 months later, people started getting their orders fulfilled in late May 2024. So both of these took about 6 months from pre-production to fulfillment. Let's look at what we've been told at the Black Friday update. This was the latest we heard about the different expansions. I was hoping he would give maybe a small update in the Christmas update, but he did not. So as of Black Friday, Screaming God, Aeneas, and Candy and Cola were in final copy editing. The others were finished. It's not clear if any of these were in pre-production or in production at that point, but let's just look at Screaming God, for example. That's a pretty big expansion on its own. 2 monsters. So it's, equivalent, if not bigger than, Black Knight or Frog Dog. Let's say that Screaming God goes into pre-production or went into pre-production this month. It's historically taken them about a month to do that. So let's say that production starts on Screaming God in January. It takes about 2 months to produce one of these expansions, but they're going to be butting up against Lunar New Year. So I'm going to add a delay to that. So production might not end on Screaming God and Wave 1 as a whole until, like, let's say April. and then it's going to take them a couple months to 2 to 3 months to fulfill. So that's kind of how I landed on Q2 of 2025. I just don't see it coming any earlier than that. Maybe, May if we were being super optimistic here, but that's still Q2. It might even slip into very early Q3 if I'm being honest. But I'll remain the optimist and say Q2. So that's how I came to that conclusion. I could be wrong. Next wave, wave two. So campaigns of death, promos of death, Honeycomb Weaver, Titan Bee, Pathfinders of Death, and Dead Armor. This was estimated to come out Q1 of 2025. I think it's safe to say that it will not be. And this is going to be where my controversial prediction comes in, but I don't think we're going to get it till Q1 of 2026. We're also going to get the other two philosophies, heliocentrism and starbound, with it. And I'll go through my reasoning why. So, the first piece of evidence I'll present is they are currently doing an Expansions of Death painting contest. This was announced at Black Friday, and they said that the winners will be added to the Campaigns of Death rulebook. They have a submission deadline. They don't have the date explicitly laid out, but if you do the math, when I took the screenshot, that was how much time was left. But if you do the math, the submission deadline for this painting contest is March 31st, 2025 at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This means that they will not in any way have the rule book for Campaigns of Death in production any earlier than April of 2025. And I mean, we'd be talking about them working at breakneck speed, basically looking at all the submissions, judging them, picking a winner, placing those pictures into the rule book, doing final, copy edit on the rule book, and then getting into pre-production. So I'm not going to go through step by step all the dates. You can look these up yourselves, but I grabbed the timelines for production of the core game and Gambler's Chest because I thought those were more in line with kind of the scale and size of Campaigns of Death. And, it takes some, I guess the original core game took them 6 months from production to fulfillment, but Gambler's Chest took longer, took actually closer to like 10 months from pre-production to fulfillment. I'm going to use my best guess for these. Let's be super optimistic. Let's say that the last thing they're waiting on is just getting these contest winners into the rulebook and they start pre-production on Wave 2 in April of 2025 or on the rulebook and Campaigns of Death in 2025. Maybe everything else is already in pre-production. They start production in May of 2025. I'm going to give them 4 months for production just based off of timelines from other big boxes. And, it takes them 2 months to ship it out. They get it to us November 2025. This is incredibly optimistic of a timeline I'm talking about here. First of all, I'm assuming that all they need to do is get things into the rulebook and send it off for pre-production. That's assuming that all development is done by April of 2025. We have not gotten any sort of development update on Campaigns of Death, Titan Bee, Honeycomb Weaver, etc. In a while. So I really don't know if it's ready to go to the printers or not, or if they're going to need additional months to finish it up. There could also be delays with production. There could be delays with shipping. We've just seen all that kind of stuff in the past with, card back color balance, especially for an expansion that's adding new cards to existing expansions. That's going to be, a detail that they're going to be very sensitive to. We don't know what shipping is going to be like in 2025. So who knows? So I mean, I even think, Q1, I might be even being optimistic with that. But I'm just going to say you add a couple months on to this incredibly optimistic update, and that's going to push you into 2026. So that's how I came to that conclusion. Don't shoot the messenger. I could be wrong. One of the ways I could be wrong, for example, is they might be in production on Campaigns of Death and the other expansions for Wave 2 before April. The rulebook might just be the last thing they're putting into production. They don't have to have every component ready to go at the same exact time. They can start on the cards, the plastic, etc., and the rulebook could just be the last thing that they put into production, for example. Going beyond Wave 2, I have some predictions for when we might expect Waves 3 through 5, but the further out we get, the more hand wavy my estimates get. At Black Friday, Adam made a couple comments both in the Kickstarter comment section as well as in the Discord that said that he is still expecting 3+ years to finish this Kickstarter. So he's saying that he doesn't expect this Kickstarter to be over any earlier than 2027. And I think that plus is giving away that it could be longer. Remastered Wave 3, this is Inverted Mountain, Nightmare Ramp, Griffin, Oblivion Mosquito, was estimated initially to come out Q4 2025 in the timeline. I'm going to say let's add 9 months from the release of Wave 2. That would put us into Q4 of 2026. Likewise, adding an additional 9 months onto from there. By the way, Wave 4, he also estimated Q4 2025, so we never got clarification if this was a typo or if they expected to ship two waves in the same quarter. But 9 months out from when I estimated Wave 3 would put us into Q3 2027. And then Wave 5, which is Ivory Dragons, Super Survivors, and First Hero, which, they forgot to add to the list there. They initially had estimated Q3 2026. I am saying Q2 2028, just adding another 9 months out. I think those are reasonable estimates, honestly. I mean, I think it was incredibly aggressive for them to think that they're going to put out Abyssal Woods, Inverted Mountain, Campaigns of Death, Ivory Dragon, Silver City, all of that in the next 3 years. No, I just can't see that happening. I'm sorry. But let's say that they get this all out in 2028, Kickstarter's done, but there's other stuff that they've been working on. We've had the Ringtail Fox, Blushing Owl. They've even sold sculpts of it, the Golden Bat. They have a lot of stuff that they're cooking on, and I expect that the year that they fulfill Ivory Dragon will be the year that we see the next Kickstarter. So by my logic, they would launch it on a Black Friday. So if they fulfill Ivory Dragon in 2028, we should expect to see Kickstarter number 3 on November 24th, 2028. Now, that's 4 years from now. A lot can happen between now and then. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll get this all done in 2027, in which case we could see it come out, or the next Kickstarter launch Black Friday 2027, or it could take longer, and in which case might not be till 2029 that we see the next Kickstarter launch. And I know this sounds like a long time, but remember, we're talking about Kingdom Death time here. As a reminder, this was teased in 2020, 4 years ago, and we're just getting it in early 2025. So it takes them a while to do things. So that was my update. Or not an update, but that was my spiel, I suppose, about 2024 and my predictions going forward. As I said at the beginning, these were just my opinions. Hopefully, I made a compelling case for some of them. Feel free to disagree. And we'll see in February of 2025 when they release the updated timeline how close I am for things like Wave 1 and Wave 2 and beyond. I do expect that their timeline will probably be more optimistic than mine, but I'm just trying to be a bit more realistic in expectations. So once again, Happy New Year, and I'll see you at the January update at the end of the month.